Welcome to this lesson 62 of Wednesdays with EWAT here at the EWAT Club. Hi everyone, I hope you're able to join me. I know it is an exclusive club, but I'm so thrilled that I'm here live at the EWAT Club for the first time ever, and then we're going to be taking it through from this week onwards. So if you're coming into the live lesson, as you come in, hopefully you'll start getting notifications that I am live, and then we can start this lesson. Don't worry if you missed on the lesson, but otherwise there will be the recording in the club. I can see that Gabi has just joined. Gabriela, lovely to see you, Gabriela. And so glad that you joined the EWAT Club here, and that you're my first viewer on this. It's going to be a very exclusive viewing club, I think, because we've got a lot fewer people here on the EWAT Club than we have in the English with a Twist Facebook page. But less is more, as we like to say. I'm trying to develop an exclusive club here of engaged followers, EWATers, because the group is where we can really build that sense of community and where we can learn and develop together. I have a mixture of teachers in this club, and I also have you as business professionals who need to use English to communicate efficiently and successfully. And in this club, as I'm going to introduce here, welcome to the EWAT Club. This is where I will be starting challenges. In fact, I've got the first challenge, of which I will talk to you about a little later, and where I will also be running polls where I'm going to ask you questions, and you can tell me what you'd like to see more of in the EWAT Club, what you'd like me to develop for you, and what you what are your fears, and what are your concerns when you communicate in English, and how can we as a community help you overcome that. And it's also about you sharing what has worked for you, what hasn't, what are your small wins, so together that's what I'm looking to develop here. This is not just about communicating in business English, because business English is so much more than just the language. It is how you feel taking control of how you communicate in a language that is not your own. And so this is what I want to share with all of you. Manisha, hi, lovely to see you. I see also Susan's just come in watching this live class. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, Gabi. And anyone else who's viewing who hasn't actually said hi, Shanti, don't worry. If you want to just like to sit in the sidelines and watch, then fine. This community, as I say, is for you, is for me. It's for me to help you develop, and it's also for me to share my programs and how I help my clients, my readers, and you, my followers here on Facebook, to become much more in control, to become much more powerful in your communication. And one of the things I want you to do, though, is to engage. The more you engage in the community, the more you'll get from it. However, there are people who like to just watch in the sidelines and see what's happening, and that's perfectly fine. If you want to see what's going on, see what people are contributing, and then gradually, when you feel ready, then feel free to start contributing. Now, I mentioned challenges, and I just want to mention to you that what's happening here on the EWAT Club, first of all, is that we have a writing challenge to follow the theme of writing. That is very much the theme for this month, April, and we're looking at business writing. And I started off with a brand new challenge, here, which is an email writing challenge. And now I have 6 people who joined and said, I'm in and I want to join it, and I'm thrilled. And it is about you imagining it, writing an email to someone you've just met, or you chatted to at a conference or a networking event, potential client. And we have these situations where you meet someone and you have a conversation with them, and you know they could be a good client for you. So what you do is you exchange your email, your business cards, and then you agree that you will contact them with a view to arranging a meeting with them. Now, so then you go back and a few weeks pass, and then now you're ready to write that email. And there are a number of things that you want to include in that email. And it's not just about, can I have a meeting? So this is the challenge. I want you to write an email to this client referring to that time you met, and then looking to have to get a meeting with them. So you want a positive outcome. You want this person to say, yes, let's have a meeting. But there are a number of things you want to include in this email, and that's your challenge. If it sounds like it's a challenge you'd like to take on because this gives you some good email writing practice, then all you need to do is, where I've put the link on that challenge, is to type in I'm in, and you can join the challenge, which is running this week, and you've plenty of time to do it. And then you can see I have written details, a link to what I would like you to include in this email. Then once you finish, just tell me I finished, and then the next part of the challenge, which will be to share your email, will be next week starting on Monday the 23rd. That's when you'll be sharing this document and putting it into, what you do is you can copy and paste and create a document here on the EWAT Club and then share it. And I want you all to share it, and because I want you to observe and give each other feedback on your emails. Don't be shy. This is not a place for criticism. This is a place for saying what was good. And I'm not thinking about so much your grammar, your spelling, or your language, but more, did you include what you wanted, and do you think you would get a positive outcome? So peer feedback, as what we call, as teachers call, is very important, because peer observation, peer feedback is very powerful, not just from not just getting feedback from your teacher, because your peers can certainly, they have also experience. They're business professionals. They might have a different look on what your email is about and offer some feedback, constructive feedback. And so that's what it's all about. So if you really fancy the challenge, then, as I say, after this class, type in I'm in the part of where I've highlighted the challenge in the Facebook club, and then join it, and it'll be great. Anyway, Keiko, I can see you've joined, and I saw Maria has joined. Thank you so much. You're watching, and I'm so delighted that you're in this class. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Some of you took the time also to respond to my 3 questions that I put when you joined the EWAT Club, and that was a real eye-opener for me. And this just shows the difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page, because you get to know so much more your members within the group, your community. And so that's why I'm going to look to have more polls to encourage you to share your thoughts, to share what you'd like from this community. This is not just a one-way street, it's 2 ways. But I will ask you the questions, and I want you to be involved. I know Susan asked for part of this EWAT, the Wednesdays with EWAT lessons, to look at more negotiation skills and looking at how we can develop those. So I'm thinking that as we move into May, I might be including that as a theme on skills, business skills we need to not necessarily just master, but also improve on, and that could be part of negotiation skills. So thank you very much, Susan, for introducing that idea. But if there are other areas of language or business skills, or things that topics you'd like to discuss and include, not just in Wednesdays with EWAT, but within the group, then please do let me know. Drop me a line, put it in the comments. But if there are questions you have to ask each other, ask away in the comments. Put it into write a post in the club, and I will then look at it, approve it, and then we can all then get involved in the discussion. Tiziana, one of our fellow members, asked a question about a point of language. There was a buzzword or some new words that had come in that they're using a lot in Italy. So there was a nice little discussion thread that went through, discussing whether it was an appropriate word or not. So where you have doubts, you know, do put that in, and this is where the club can really help you feel confident and help you move on. I hope that sort of gives you an idea what this club is all about. And if you think that there are other people who would benefit from this being part of the EWAT club, then do let me know. Do, you know, invite them to join. But please remember, they have to be business professionals. They have to need and use English for work. And they need to be at least an intermediate level of English. You know, having someone who's a beginner is going to be too difficult for them to follow. So please bear that in mind when you're thinking of adding members into the club. I know Susan just added a new member, and I'm thrilled. She's from Moscow. I'm afraid I don't know what her name is because it was in Russian. So I hope you can tell me, Susan, who it was. So I look forward to welcoming some new members. We're now 80 members strong already in 2 weeks, so that's great. I don't want this group to become too big because then you lose that sense of community. But 80 is fantastic and I'm really thrilled. So let's look. So I really look forward to seeing you join the challenge, the email writing challenge, but there'll be plenty more challenges. But, you know, let me know if, you know, there are things that you'd like, and then I might think about other ideas. I will also introduce you to programs that I'm launching that are not free, but they are paid for programs where you might be interested in joining. And then I will send you personal invitations to those. But, you know, that will be down the line. This here is for you to develop that sense of community. All right, now back to Wednesdays with EWAT and back to lesson 62. What are we all about here? As I mentioned yesterday in the post, we're talking grammar. And basically we are talking good grammar. Oh, Susan, just you're saying her name is Daria and she's learning English and teaching it to children in Moscow. Okay, so she needs English in her business. Does she need English to develop marketing skills? Will she need that to you? So it'd be interesting to see, Susan. So, you know, that's what we want. I want, you know, where they really need English to maybe, even if they're teachers, maybe developing their skills to market their school, or, you know, where they have to write good copy, whether it's online or whether they're dealing with business professionals in meetings. So that is what the EWAT Club is about. And when I think of when I'm talking about business professionals. But great, welcome Daria. But I will be welcoming all our fellow new members in the club in the next few days. Great, Giovanna, lovely to see you. So wonderful to see you here. I think it's the first time I've seen you, or maybe you've joined the Wednesdays with EWAT lessons on the page and I didn't realize. So lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining today's class. So lesson 62, as I mentioned, we're talking grammar. And we're talking about why good grammar means good business. And this is the post I referred to yesterday. And I also shared an article from Forbes talking about this, you know. And now as a coach, as a business English trainer, and as someone who likes to coach my clients, I like to share my I always tell my clients, listen, you don't need perfect grammar to communicate well in English. But what you do need is good grammar. So, you know, there is a difference. Some people, oh, my grammar is terrible. Oh, I get worried about that. And some people overthink it. And I think, okay, you don't have to be so obsessed about grammar. But the important thing is to have good grammar. But it all depends. It all depends on what exactly you're trying to communicate, where you're trying to communicate. Are you speaking? Are you writing? Are you presenting? What is your position in a company? What is your profession? What is your professionalism? You know, there are different needs depending on where you're in the business professions. Why, you might ask me that? Why is that? Shouldn't it be the same for everybody? Yes, in an ideal world it would be. But to be honest, if your job is predominantly to write a set number of emails that are fairly repetitive, because all you're doing is dealing with supply and demand, dealing with suppliers, and all you're doing is delivery dates or suppliers' dates, shipping, you're going to be fairly limited to what you need. And so the grammar there is, yes, you'll need basic grammar, but you don't need to have good, it's going to be very different from someone who has to write a sales proposal, or where you're trying to persuade a client to buy your services or to buy your product, or you're trying to negotiate something and you're negotiating through writing. Very different from instructions. Giving instructions can be fairly straightforward, bullet points, and then you don't need complex sentences. So it all depends on what you are trying to communicate and whether you need, what sort of language. So, that is why I say good grammar and the level of grammar you need will depend on your position and what you're writing about, and what your function is in your company. Giovanna, this is your first time here. Okay, then welcome to Wednesdays with EWAT, and welcome to the EWAT Club. Giovanna is one of my students, and so I'm delighted to have her here. Path, thank you so much for joining the EWAT Club and for watching here. You've been a great supporter on Wednesdays with EWAT on the page. I hope you enjoy also being part of the club. Right, okay, so now let's see. So as I say, so grammar all depends on what you're trying to communicate. Now, in this lesson, what I want to cover is I want to give you an idea about, I was reading a number of articles and why a number of professionals think that good grammar means good business. Why is it important? You please share with me in the comments box why you think, first of all, good grammar means good business. If you can share your ideas, I'd love to know. So please tell me. I'd love to see what you're thinking and what you feel, how you feel. Because here I started with good grammar means good business. Why do you think it is good business? I'm just going to have a slurp of water. Please share with me here. Giovanna, what do you think? Susan, Path, Gabriela, Maria, Trisha. I know Trisha is watching. What do you think? Feel free to share with me in the comments. I'm looking also my face on the desktop, so I can see that what you're saying. I don't know about you, but when I receive an email from someone where there are spelling mistakes and where there are basic grammar mistakes, I get irritated. Now, okay, maybe it's because I'm a teacher, so maybe you think, gosh, Auntie, maybe you're just a bit too nerdy, you're a bit too much, attention to detail, you're worrying about something that shouldn't worry. But quite frankly, if I'm receiving a professional email, so we're not talking about informal emails that we send to our friends and we send to our colleagues, where we're talking about something that has got nothing to do with work. But where you're writing a professional email, say it's to a colleague, say it's to a potential client or a client, or maybe you're writing to the first time to someone, and this email is full of grammar mistakes, basic grammar mistakes, and mistakes in spelling, that just irritates me. Susan is saying, to be competitive in a global market, you need to make a good impression through your use of English language, written or spoken. Exactly, to be competitive in a global market, yeah. Now, this can be both on a company level and an individual level, right? So companies, for example, we need to stay competitive. Businesses need to stay competitive. So how do we stay competitive? You're making a good impression. That good impression is first of all with your words. Good. Okay, so let me see. I'm glad. So Keiko is saying good grammar never fails to impress your business partners. You mean, okay, it's a double negative here. Good grammar never fails not to impress. Yeah, it always impresses your business partners. Good grammar. Gabriella is saying, I think good grammar helps you to be clear about what you need and what you expect from your potential client. And Trisha is saying, well, when I work on business documents in French, I want to be taken seriously. I think people may take me less seriously if I have mistakes in my writing. When I see emails that come to me that are full of errors in English or French, I wonder about the level of education of the sender, perhaps unfairly. So I'm paranoid about my own grammar. Thank you so much, and really good points, all of you. Exactly. So when it creates a bad impression if you're writing, take for example, you're writing in your own mother tongue, your own first language, and you're writing in your first language and you're going to make basic grammar mistakes. Now please, I am emphasizing basic grammar mistakes, okay, because grammar covers a huge spectrum. We can have complex grammar usage and we can have basic and intermediate, but I'm talking about basic to intermediate, okay. Complex, yeah, that even can be very complex, difficult for proficient users of a language, native speakers who've been writing for years and who use their words very, very well, you know, so that can sometimes confuse. I mean, teachers, I mean, I know me, when I sometimes am trying to think of words or I'm trying to write a complex sentence, I can get a bit stuck with my grammar. But basic, I should check that I'm not making basic grammar mistakes. So what Trisha is saying here is that if you want to be taken seriously, and just like Susan's saying, you're being competitive, you have to compete in the business market, in the global market, and therefore you want to be taken seriously, you need to be able to produce or promote a good image of yourself, a good impression of yourself. Now, there's someone said, and I'm quoting now here, there's a very interesting article from Harvard Business Review by Carl Vince, who wrote this an article in the Harvard Business Review. I tried to share it, but you need to subscribe to the Harvard Business Review magazine before you get to see the article. So I might do that so I can, might share these articles. Now in it, he in his article, which was entitled "Why I Don't Employ People with Bad Grammar," with poor grammar, and that was quite hard. But the first thing he said was that good grammar equals credibility, especially on the internet, especially on the way we write. Oh, I've got poltergeist. Or this is my dog trying to come into the office. And he's saying good grammar is it's your credibility. Now, especially on the internet. So on the internet, we're talking about blogs, websites, we're talking social media, we are talking copy. So if you're running a website, you've got a business, you're writing the copy. If you're in social media and you're engaging with an audience, say for example on a LinkedIn group, and you write badly, or in your LinkedIn profile, and you make grammar mistakes, then what sort of impression are you giving to people? Because here's what he says, words are all we have. So words are all we have, and they're the projection of ourselves in our physical absence. Yeah, so we're not there physically, so it's just our words. So our words are what is going to give us the impression of us. And Susan's saying here, it also demonstrates that you have made an effort and that you care about the message you want to impart. Absolutely. So you're writing something and you want, and Path is saying, yes, so credibility also equals reliability. Yes, that is what, oh, that's what you meant. Did you put a previous comment, Path? Because I didn't see that. But yeah, absolutely. Credibility, I would say also reliability. And as Susan says, you know, it shows that you have made an effort in your writing. So, you know, he's saying words are all we have. It's a projection of our physical absence. And whether we like it or not, and whether it's unfair or not, like Tricia says, people judge us if we cannot, and here's what he's saying, cannot spot the difference between, and here I'm going to write it in the comments, there, and there. Now, if you cannot spot the difference when you're writing between these three words, and I'm sure I'm going to have a whole bunch of people going, yeah, how many native speakers who are supposedly been using their language, writing in their language all their lives, still make these basic mistakes, right? I mean, if you're going to make a mistake with those and you are not sure why you're using it or how you're using it, or you're not even going to double check before you send it, you know, those are basic mistakes. And yet, and I don't know how many times I see those mistakes. The other mistakes are like what? The difference between it's and its. Oh, hands up how many times you've seen that. Now, maybe it's an error on our parts, right, as we're typing. And because, of course, the more we use our computers, we're typing fast. And especially on social media, and especially on LinkedIn. Exactly, Susan, your and your. Drives me insane. And yet, when I'll ask a native speaker, excuse me, what's the difference? They actually are sitting there thinking about it. Now, in this article by Kyle Vance in the Harvard Business Review, of course, he's talking about native speakers of English. So let me be very clear here. We're not talking about non-native speakers of English. Exactly, Manisha, exactly. You know, so, you know, he's saying if you can't spot the difference and if you're making those basic differences, what does it tell me about you? That you haven't mastered that. So if you can't spot those differences, what is it going to tell me about your ability to do your job? Maybe that's being a bit unfair, but we do judge. It's like when you first meet someone or you go to a first interview, and you know you are judged in the first 20 seconds. The way you look, the way you stand, the way you speak, your body language. You know, so writing is exactly the same. So grammar is important for these things, for these basic good grammar. I'm not talking about being terribly complex here, right? And it's amazing how. And so, you know, these are things that can be actually corrected. So when people worry about, oh, my grammar is not good enough, Shanti, for my writing, a lot of it can be corrected. A lot of it is because maybe you need to brush up on your basic English grammar, including the native speakers. Native speakers also, you know, what it says to me is maybe you're a bit lazy. Maybe you're lazy to check detail. So if I'm going to ask you to write a proposal to a client, I want to make sure you got it right. I don't want you making a mistake maybe with the figures, you know, where we're submitting a bid or a tender and you make mistakes with the numbers. So what does it tell me about your attention to detail? So really important. So the thing is, we need to always focus on that. And, you know, of course, with native speakers, there's really no excuse. So when I see it coming from a native speaker, it drives me insane. And just like Tricia says, you know, with the French, and so, you know, you think, oh, you know, I have to be, because we expect so much. And the more senior we become, the more we expect that. So yes, there is a pressure put on us, but we But that is the same as how you would deliver a presentation, how you would conduct a meeting, how you interact with your colleagues. The more senior we become, the more professional. And good writing, good grammar means also professionalism. Shows how professional we are. And if you want to take it seriously, if you if this is what you want to develop as a person, this is one of the things you need to look at. Similarly, in your own language. So if you're not very confident in your own grammar in your own language, then that's what you need to also look at. Going back to what I mean by good grammar. Okay, so we're looking at the good grammar in terms of these basic, differences between your possessive adjective and you are using the contractions. So make sure you get it right. The difference between it is. So again, those are the issues with contractions that are used in the English language. The use of the apostrophe, which is the possessive apostrophe. Where do you put it? Sometimes also in plurals. Okay, that's slightly more intermediate, but we need to observe that. Now, of course, reading will also help you observe this. But these are basic things that, we need to be more observant of. The other thing is, when I mean good basic grammar, is also look at your verb tenses. See, when you're writing something, make sure you check your verb tenses. Are you writing in the present tense? Are you writing in the past tense? Are you referring to the future? So when we talk about clarity, if you have good grammar, also means that it is clear for your reader to understand. I can follow what you're trying to tell me. If you're talking about past experience, I'm expecting to write in the past tense. If you're talking about something that's still relevant now but started in the past, I'm looking at the present perfect. If I'm talking about a plan you're making, then maybe you're looking at either the going to do something or future I will. So it's very important, the difference between why we would use the present simple and the present continuous in business. Present simple we use for facts. Present continuous we'll be using for something that's temporary. So these are things. Now you might say, oh, but Shanti, I don't know. This is where I would say you need always have a good grammar book by your side, a grammar reference book. My clients, a number of times they'll go, well, I look it on the internet. Not good enough. If you're serious about your writing, you're serious about developing your writing, and I'm not talking about becoming a copywriter, about becoming an author. I'm talking about just good, solid English writing, business writing, then always have a good grammar book by your side. Now, one of the grammar books that I always recommend to my clients is Raymond Murphy's English Grammar in Use. Now, it's very straightforward, very easy, excellent exercises in there, but also very simple instructions, simple explanations. If you're not too sure about something, then have a look at it. The other excellent book, which is more for advanced level learners and teachers that use it, is Practical English Usage by Michael Swan. I will add all this in the notes so that you have that. There it's much more detailed, but an excellent book because he explains about contractions, confusing words, and goes into much more detail. So if you're writing and you're particular about it and you want to be really want to improve, or you're writing an important business email, then you need to double check that. Susan, you're saying so many mistakes happen every day in businesses simply because of bad communication. Yeah, language errors, minor errors that can actually be corrected fairly easily. And this is where I will be talking a bit more in a minute about that. So, your verb tenses, make sure you've got your verb tenses right. So that's what you need to double check. And this is what I mean when I say about basic good grammar. I'm not talking about complex language. I'm not bringing in, what we would talk about cleft sentences or anything complex as someone might have said. Yeah, and Susan, you're right. These mistakes cost businesses money and time. Because if you're going to make mistakes, or even punctuation, you put a wrong comma somewhere and you're writing a contract. Okay, contracts are much more complex pieces of writing, but they have different meanings. Yeah, so punctuation also can have a different meaning to a sentence. So you have to be very careful about these things. The other thing is also understanding the simple sentence structure in English. And this is very important for people to understand that in the English language, we have a basic sentence structure. And if you haven't grasped that now, particularly for my business professionals here in the EWAT Club, then you need to. And I always say to clients who join my coaching sessions, you need to have a basic. I'm not going to be correcting every single sentence that you don't understand. That we start a sentence with subject, verb, object. We always need a subject at the beginning of a sentence. Unlike, for example, the Italian language where we drop the subject. So you need to make sure that you have that. So having good sentence structure. If you're not sure about that, then a good grammar book, go back to it, have a look, check it, do a few exercises. Just check that. Just get in your mind what the structure is. I'm looking at subject, verb, object. Then we talk about place, and then we talk about time. So there's a basic word order in the English language. Once you've got that, then most of the sentences are built like that. Then what you add is conjunctions like and, but, however, into the sentences to create more complex sentences. So you have a simple sentence, complex sentence, or compound sentences. So you can mix those. But you don't have to have them super complex, but you do need to understand the basic sentence structure. So if you don't understand that, get yourself a grammar book and have a look at it. You will only learn by doing and by double checking where you're not sure. Path, you said here, it is the same in exams. If you make basic grammar mistakes, the bad impression will make the corrector give you a lower mark, even though you may have used complex structures. Exactly, they might be really impressed by your complex structures, but you've gone and made the basic grammar mistakes, and they're thinking, people, if you haven't understood that bit yet. And so business writing is exactly the same. And as I've said before in the past, and I wrote this in a previous blog post, when you're writing informal emails, people will excuse your grammar mistakes. But when you're writing professional emails, and if you're writing to an important audience, then take care how you're writing. Because bad grammar can also mean that your message is lost in translation, as it were. It becomes unclear. And the whole point of writing, good writing, is that people have to understand what you want, especially if you want someone to act on your message. As Tricia says, and as Susan said, you need clarity. So very, very important. So if you're not sure, then, check that. Spelling. There is really no excuse to have bad spelling. Spell check, we can use that in most of our computers. We have spell check and people can look it up and have a look and work on that. So, that gives you, you can do that. But I will go through some of the tools you can use to help. But I always say, get your basic structures right. Basic grammar, basic sentence structure. Get your punctuation. Understand where you use a comma, where you use a full stop. Those are the two main punctuation marks that you need. The use of the apostrophe in the English language, very important. Gabriela, you're saying sometimes time expressions are confusing, especially in long sentences. Okay, Gabriela, can you give some examples of time expressions where you find them confusing? And so, in long sentences, it depends how long the sentence is. And that's where, yes, of course, when you're looking at people and how they write, more mistakes are made the longer our sentences are. So we need to try and reduce the length of the sentence, having fewer words in a sentence, and maybe splitting them by making them, sort of putting two sentences in a compound, but not having too many complex structures. You know, it all depends on how you're doing. If you're working for an exam, that's a different thing. But in business writing is much more clear. In exam, writing skills have a different requirement. There, the examiner is looking at how you develop your arguments. So academic writing is very different from business writing. Business writing, you're looking at clarity, especially if you're writing in emails. Business people don't have time to sit and go through an entire lengthy email. So depending on your medium, if it's email, if it's a proposal, you know, there are different styles of writing. So depending on your style, then you need to develop that style. That's why I'm saying if you've got emails where you are writing a lot of emails where you're trying to encourage clients to use you, or where you're trying to write to get an appointment, to get a meeting. For example, when I was in investment sales, my idea was to first of all interest my potential client to what I had to offer with a view of arranging a meeting to see them. So I need to capture their attention. So I need to come up with the benefits. I need to think about what that is. So there's a lot more to writing than just grammar, but this is not the point of this class. This class is about looking at just grammar. Yeah, so writing is a lot more. So for example, in the writing challenge that I've got here in the EWAT club this week, that's what we're looking at. It's not just grammar, it's what are you trying to say. But your message is clearer if also you have the basics in terms of sentence structure. And so that's why you need to have it in your mind, because then it makes it easier to construct your sentence and your message. All right, so I hope that's sort of how, helping. And so Gabriella, I'm looking forward to seeing sort of what example time expressions you're referring to, you know, where you're not sure how to use them and when to use them. Again, a good grammar book will, you know, for example, practical English usage, he has so many words there, look, and then you can see how is it used. A good dictionary, you don't even need to just have a grammar book. A good advanced level dictionary will explain a lot of this. So, you know, just take a look at that. You know, when my clients all sit there going, oh, you know, Shanti, I don't know. And I'm thinking, get a book, have a look. Yeah, this stuff is not going to miraculously happen. You have to go look for that information. So arm yourself with a good book, have it there. Okay, sometimes stuff is not there online, and that's why I'll talk about an online tool that would help you immensely. Hi Tam, lovely. Thank you so much for joining. Great to see you here. Right. Now, as I say, what we talked about, you know, we've already talked about what good grammar would say about a person. It shows that they're professional. You've already said that good grammar shows that they take their job seriously. They take pride in what they're doing. They are careful with their work. They are responsible for their work. And there are people who, for example, if you represent your company or you're the corporate image of your company, then you need to be, what you say and what you write is going to be important. And so it also says that you are serious. You take your job seriously. You take yourself seriously. You are not, you don't just write something and you don't care. A lot of us do. You know, sometimes you're in a rush, you write and then it just press the send button, off it goes, and then suddenly you look at it, you reread it and you think, oh my goodness, that was terrible. Now, if it's just a quick instruction or quick response to someone, it doesn't matter, okay? In life, we have to be also realistic. This can happen. But if it's going to be something important and you really want to impress that person, then you need to spend some time, you know, thinking about what you want to do. And then once you've developed a style, once you've developed that email, use that as a template. Yeah, use that as a format, as something that you can use time and time again. I mean, I do it myself, you know, when I'm writing my email, my emails that go with my blog, you know, you have a style, you'll have, you know, you create that, and most of it will become a template. Then you can, you know, make some changes. But once you're happy with what it looks like, you think it's correct, then there are ways of making your life easier and quicker. But make sure that you have a good base, a good bank of expressions or, you know, of things that you can use time and time again. Because I've said this before in my previous post, the 80-20 rule, there are only some expressions and some words that we can constantly use in certain emails. So build that and incorporate that in your emails, but create a template. And then every time you need to use the same one, you're just tweaking it for each email. So it's customized to your particular client. For example, when clients ask me, they send me inquiries about my coaching sessions, then I have a template, because otherwise you spend your entire time rewriting, and that takes a lot of time. So create a good template, make sure it's been checked, spell checked, grammar approved, everything, and then you're good to go. So there are various techniques you can use, and I'll be talking a bit more about one in particular that can help you. Yeah, so there are there are good tools there that can help you on the way. Now, yes, as I say, so in terms of showing what sort of person you are, it shows that you're responsible, you've got great attention to detail, you are accurate, yeah, so you're professional, you're credible, and like Pat says, you're credible, you're reliable, you are accurate. Now, these are highly valuable characteristics that employers look for, that the businesses look for in people. That's what's going to make you employable. That's what makes you, you know, good candidate for promotions. So yeah, that's all good stuff that you need. So, you know, if your job involves a lot of writing, then you need to take care. You need to spend that time. And if it means getting a coach to help you, getting a teacher to help you initially, to help you through it, then do that. You know, make that investment, or maybe try and encourage your company to make that investment on your behalf. You know, if you're important enough to the company, they will make that investment. I don't know, once upon a time they used to, but companies are so much more budget orientated now, focused, you know, it might be a bit more difficult, but then invest in yourself. You know, so there are ways that you can do this. Good writing, good grammar. Good grammar also means you're a critical thinker. Because if you're thinking hard about what you're writing, you want to make sure that you have got your good sentence structure, your thought, means you're thinking critically. It also means that, therefore, if you're a critical thinker, means that your ability to solve problems. And if your job requires that, requires you to think on your feet, to think about problems, to solve problems, then your attention to detail when you write suggests that you're good at that. And I've noticed this very much also in my own work, as I've developed my writing habit through my blog, through blogging, through copywriting, through my online business. The more and more I write, and I tell you, I've never written as much as I do now, you are really constantly thinking, and it really makes you be more critical of what you're trying to say, about your message, and it really helps you along the way. And that helps you also analyze better other situations. So this is an extra value, an asset that you bring to an employer, which is highly valued. And we talked about, yes, it gives you that responsibility, makes you look responsible. And the more senior you become, the more you're taking on responsibilities, the more that has to be reflected also in your writing, if your work involves a lot of writing. Now, let's get to the crunch about what you can do then, now that we've established, yes, we've all agreed that good grammar is good for us, it means good business. People, mistakes in grammar costs businesses money and time, because, you know, they end up having to get someone else to proofread your writing, or they have to double check it, or your boss has to double check everything before it goes out. So there's just extra time, extra money. It doesn't give the good impression of you. You're unlikely to get the outcome you want, because perhaps someone is you know, just frustrated with your emails. You know, also the thing is, you know, if you make mistakes in your typing, you make a spelling mistake, or you make those basic grammar mistakes of not using the apostrophe, the contraction for it is, and instead you put it in the wrong way. What happens is, I don't know about you, but me as a reader, I completely concentrate on those mistakes, and I forget to read your entire message. Your message is then lost to me because I'm too busy reading your bad grammar and thinking, gosh, especially if you're a native speaker. So let me make this very clear. If you're someone who's a learner and you're gradually developing your language, then that's fine. You know, please, people are much more lenient. But as you develop, then no. So, you know, and also the more senior you are, the more they expect you to have good grasp of grammar. And if you are going to write, your writing is full of mistakes, it makes reading really difficult, and it makes the reader focus on the wrong thing. And then all that effort you made in writing goes completely out of the window, because that person is just thinking about, is that it? So it is, was it your, you are, what was he trying to say, or she was trying to say? You know, really, do I want to deal with someone who can't even write? You know, and, you know, rightly or wrongly, that just gives a bad impression. Gabriela, last week I heard a girl talking about a TV program, and she said, nowadays everything went crazy on American TV. It was funny, as I thought you use nowadays only for the present tense. Exactly. So, oh, that's what you mean. So, Gabriela, you question about time expressions. Exactly. So, there are time expressions that refer to certain tenses. Yeah, so we use yet and since with the present perfect. I haven't seen them yet. I haven't been to I haven't been to see him since you know, I haven't seen that I don't know, that place since 2011, or I haven't seen that since forever. You know, whatever there are present tense, there are tenses that will have certain time expressions. Now, another very good business grammar, which I use also for my business clients, is the Business Grammar Builder by Paul Emmerson. Let me just get that for you. In here, he has a lot about the time expressions. What are the typical time expressions? Yeah, so if you're going to use time expressions, make sure you're using the time expressions correctly. So yes, nowadays people, nowadays people go crazy. So again, nowadays go, it will be the present simple, not even the present continuous. So it can get quite complex. So you need to check about what time expressions go with what tenses. So this is little t detail, and as Susan says, attention to detail is highly valued and is so important. Yeah, if you want to look good, then just check what you're writing. But here's the thing. So you want to proofread everything you write, particularly if they're important emails. The quick email that you're sending out to people, okay, don't. But if they're important emails, proofread it. And as I say, if you've proofread it and it looks good, you want it, then create a template. Put it away, because the chances are you're going to be using the same template some other time. Use spell check and review your grammar. Now, here's when I want to introduce you to the wonderful grammar checker by Gramley. So, Gramley grammar checker. Before half of you go, oh my God, this will take me forever now to write. Grammarly Grammar Checker. It's a wonderful software tool that you can download, and it comes as a Chrome extension, and you can also use it as a desktop application. Now, I have been using Grammarly for a long time now, and I think it's wonderful. Not only does it check your spelling, It checks your grammar, so it will make it, you know, so if you write something and you want to make sure that it's correct, then Grammarly's grammar checker will proofread your text and take a look at it, and then will tell you if you haven't put in the punctuation, if your spelling is incorrect, the grammar. It will also look at your grammar. And, you know, so those are the first things that you can do. Now, let me just say with the grammar checker, and I will be attaching a link to the notes in to this lesson. I want to tell you that the grammar checker is an affiliate link that I have. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you download the Grammarly checker, grammar checker extension link to your Chrome and to your desktop, I will receive a small commission from them. It's absolutely free for you to use, so it doesn't cost you anything. So I would recommend that you do it. And if you're serious about your writing, you really need it. Because here's the thing. Now, what's beautiful about it, well, I thought it was wonderful, is that Grammarly as a desktop also, any document you want. Now, for example, as I'm writing here on my EWAT, in the EWAT club, my comments, I've got the Grammarly icon there. And every time I write, if I make a mistake spelling it, it automatically highlights it. So it alerts me to what I'm doing. And so I double check that and I think, oh yes, right, okay, that's wonderful. I'll correct that. Or there's a punctuation mistake. Or there's grammar, and then they'll tell you the tense. Or the sentence structure. No, not sentence structure. So yeah, no, sentence structure, they'll check basic. Now, that's your free version. Like all the software applications that you have around the world, you will also have the premium version. Now, the premium version, of course, is where you're going to be paying a monthly fee or an annual fee. And I think the annual, it costs about just under $100, I think 98. So it works out at about $8 a month, which is nothing if you're serious about your writing. Now, what the premium does, it covers much more. It looks at grammar, spelling, punctuation, but also enhancements. They will think about word choices. So if you're writing something that's more complex, they might offer you other words to use so that you're not repeating too many words. So this is going to be ideal if you're writing a proposal, if you're writing much more. But initially, I would say try out the free version, because I think the free version will be plenty for most of us. It gets you used to it. And what's great about it is, so if you write a document on Word or Google Doc, you just have to copy and paste it into the app, and it will automatically scan to check that if everything is correct. Once you've had it proofread by the grammar checker, then you know that's okay to send, and then you use, and then, as I say, save it into a Google Doc or save it into wherever you save stuff, into an Evernote, and keep it as a template. And so that's where then you have it, and you can keep using it, retweaking it whenever you need. But I can't stress enough how Grammarly Grammar's checker, and you can also subscribe to the Grammarly blog, which is for free again, that would help you. So as I say, it is an affiliate link, the one that I will share with you in the show notes for today's lesson. I earned a small little commission that will just help me work on my blog or whatever. But as I say, if you're serious about your writing, you want also a good, reliable, excellent, and this is what I mean, very important, a reliable source to do your spell checking and your grammar checking, then use Grammarly. Because there's plenty out there. There's Google, there's all this, but they're not always correct. Even spell checkers that you use that are Office and Micro, there are mistakes. I have seen plenty. So if you want something good, then use Grammarly Grammar Checker. So I'll add the link, then click, and as soon as you download that Chrome extension, and I would urge you to also download the app. So sign up, set up your account. It's completely free, and start using it. I tell you, you will be amazed, particularly also for your social media. As I say, it's there and it double check. So especially if you want to make a good impression on social media through LinkedIn and stuff like that. Finally, with the proofreading, when you're writing stuff and you've done your Gramley checker, read it out loud. Read out what you've read. I've started noticing that, I noticed this, I used to not believe this, but I've noticed with my blogs, for example, where I write, and when you're writing and you're thinking, you think you sound correct. But when I immediately start recording my blog posts for the audio version, it's amazing how I suddenly notice mistakes I've made. I've made typing mistakes, I've made grammar mistakes, I've missed out or I've done wrong subject, verb tense. You know, I've put the wrong verb conjugation with the subject, and I think, oops, and I didn't notice when I was writing. But as soon as I start reading out loud, I notice it. So, you know, these are the tricks you can do. You can take to get yourself into good grammar practice. And finally, and I am going now because I have overstayed my welcome here, is another thing you can do, of course, is to start writing. Start a journaling habit. Start a journaling habit. Now, in this week's post on EWAT, and if you are subscribers to my blog, then you will, I have a great, start a journaling habit. You see, mistake, I pressed the send button before, the return button before finishing my sentence. So start a journaling habit, start writing. And I'm going to be talking a bit more about that next week, because as a wrap up to this, this theme on writing for this month, start a journaling habit. So in this week's post coming up on Friday, my wonderful fellow teacher Trisha, who's been on this class, is writing. She's written a blog for us on creative writing, and she really talks about also, you know, creating a journal. And a journaling habit is a wonderful way of developing your writing, because so much of our writing is done on computer. If you also just take pen and paper and start writing, it slows down the process. And she also gives us some wonderful tips on how we can slow down that writing process. The journaling habit does not have to take long. It just has to take 10 minutes of your day, 20 minutes of your day. If you even have only 5 minutes of your day, but just start getting into the process of writing. And if you need to just concentrate on business writing, then start on that. Start working on how you can develop your writing slowly but surely. But if writing is an important part of your work, and writing is something that you need to, and because you are you have a senior position, and you're looking to be promoted, then you've got to take it seriously, but you've got to put the work in. Well, I'm here to help. We're all here to help in the EWAT Club, and I'm going to be running more writing challenges. I'm actually also going to be offering a new program on business writing to fluency. There's going to be plenty more that comes up in the upcoming months. So we're in this together. You're not alone, but the work has to be done by yourselves. I hope this lesson was useful, and I thank you ever so much to all of you who joined live, and hopefully this was beneficial, this helped. Please, as I said, do let me know if there are questions you have, or there are things that you want for me to include in next lessons or in the EWAT Club to add. Then just drop a line. If you have questions, put that into the EWAT Club. That's what we're all about. I want this community to be your must-go community for any questions you have to do with English in the workplace, communicating. I want you to feel confident and in control. And the only way is to do it, to keep pushing yourself and to keep asking questions and getting the answers. But keep asking, keep probing, and keep trying. And if you haven't joined the EWAT community on email, if you'd like to receive my blog posts every Friday, then why not join? Why not subscribe to my blog on englishwithatwist.com? I'd love to have you there too. In the meantime, this is me, Shanti Kumaraswamy Street, your business English trainer and coach here at the EWAT Club, saying thank you so much. Thank you to Path, Trisha, Gabriela, Keiko, Susan, everyone that's joined in, to say thank you so much for spending your precious hour. Have a wonderful week. I will see you again. Keep a note of these links that I'll put into the page. And also, if you want to join the email writing challenge, then please do join. I know Gabriella's finished. She's a star. So I'm looking forward to seeing hers. But there's not too late to join the email writing challenge. In the meantime, take care. See you next week, folks. Ciao for now. Ciao.